Dear young friends, yesterday I was amazed to see many familiar faces, but today I even more amazed because, I always consider that it is extremely difficult to be the first, whether it is sport or whether it is a lecture or whether it is meeting. Now I see that I was wrong because to be after those very deep and very good presentation, it is very difficult to find a proper line because already a lot of slides were used and you saw the rates, you saw the situation, so I don't want to bother you to repeat all those slides, but I will show you several just to make some particular points. Of course, I would dream to talk about my dreams when I was a child, but that is the substance of the age, that you are not dreaming about the future, but you are more concentrating on what you've already done. But the moment you forget to dream about something, that you are not even the elder gentleman or lady, but you're already a dead body, because it is not correct not to dream at all. In this audience, I would like to draw your attention that the first time we started to talk about the substance of the clash of civilizations in terms of generational aspect more than 5 years ago when you just started to create youth time. And then first time you started to talk about the interaction and relations between the generation, which was very wisely pointed out here by previous speakers. And that is extremely important and dangerous to see now that the gap between the generations are growing. It was always like that. We have a saying in Russia that our time, our grandparents were talking, even the water was more water than today. But that is natural, and what is unnatural? In many constitutions of many countries, you will find the clause that the state is social state. What does it mean? Social means socialized, and in its work directed to promote the prosperity and security of the citizens. In many constitutions. But then suddenly, in the course of development of mankind and state politics, we suddenly started to hear that is too great burden for the governments to take care about the citizens. The paradigm was changed upside down. And we already heard that we should finish with social state. And why? Because, we are not producing enough funds to support everyone who is in need. So the meaning of the social state should not be persistent nowadays, and we should think that everyone is able and provided with the possibility to obtain proper education and after to find proper occupation and to create his or her own source of further prosperity. Everything in your hands. There are a lot of political slogans of that kind. You are the possessor of your fate, nobody else. Everything open, everything possible. I will try to show that is not. I'm trying, okay. Yeah, okay. To show you something. You already saw this, and I'm not staying on that. Okay, maybe just to remind you that there are a lot of newcomers to European Union, the countries where the youth unemployment is much higher than in so-called old countries of Europe. But what I would like to show you in terms of generation. Look at this slide. And you clearly see that the rate of unemployment for the younger generation is much higher than the same rate for gender part of the society. That is the reflection which already was announced here. And we know that that is true. Whatever slides you take, the previous three, two, or this one, it is clearly showing something is deadly wrong about the composition and about the politics of policy, economical or internal policy among the countries. And there is no difference. You can take EU, you can take Russia, you can take, Arab countries, you can take even America, where the situation is a little bit more better, but everywhere you will see something like that. Of course, my figures are a little bit late compared to your figures, gentlemen. But I would like to draw your attention to some very strange situation. We were talking about education. You got the best education, you got the best possibilities, etc. Look, two countries, Portugal and Italy. The rate of unemployment for the people with high education is higher than for those who has no. Maybe two countries among all other countries, that is not, the set of the kind of explanation to be. But we should think about that. Higher education brings higher unemployment. Unbelievable. Now I would like to use part of my time to talk about more general overview of the problem. And firstly, I would like to thank all of you for being the part of the Youth Time family for so long, and the newcomers, and being possibly the most aged member of the family, if I may say so. In my capacity, I would like to extend my congratulations that you sustain to be the members of Youth Time. Maybe coming right to the end, I should ask our speakers, representatives of those organizations who are now with you, to consider maybe the platform of Youth Time and Youth Time organization is a good platform to accumulate what you have, and sometimes due to the factor of your occupation, you cannot proceed. Listen, Dimitris, you were telling that, my view not necessarily, coincide with the view of EU policy, etc. Listen, several months ago, I should say the same. Now, being a free man, for on my own, I am much more happier, and I suggest that one of the ways to promote the interest of the younger generation is not for the elder generation to talk how bad we are in terms of bringing up our kids and helping them to find the place, but to accumulate our resources and their energy to help them to have their own voice in all the deeds of the society. So consider maybe that is one of the possible outcome of this session. Next, just a month ago, in Rose, we had 13th Forum of the Dialogue of Civilization. The most important session, this time, the plenary session, was devoted to the questions of the model and algorithm of the development of global economy. Listen, no one will challenge the situation and the statement that the economy is global now, world globalized. Check your pockets, you find the same telephones, doesn't matter from where you came. But on the other hand, when we see those rates of unemployment, how the economy, how the society can be sustainable if the society does not want younger generation. How the mankind can be sustainable if we do not have or would not have kids who will become younger generation. And the explanation that, the mankind is aging and, younger generation representatives should feed the pensioners, and that is not fair. That is not true. Because nowadays pensioners, when they were young, they did the same for the society. That is exactly, the interaction between the generations. Then why? Because, in 60s, Roman Club declares that the growth of the population will reach the amount at that time they were talking about 2025. The amount of the population which the Earth's resources will not be able to provide with necessary food and necessary resources at all. European philosopher, scientist Malthus, in 19th century suggested that to avoid overpopulation of the earth, the European cities should be constructed in such a way that where the poor population would be living, the street should be narrow and there should not be canalizations and etc. Why? Because epidemics should regulate the level of those poor. This is true. That one of the scientific outcome of the 19th century. Nobody named this scientific research fascism or something like that. Not a way. That was academical considerations. When I'm listening to some of the statements nowadays, I see this kind of reflection. I was acquainted with Russian academician Kapitsa, now late. He was, the one who introduced a mathematical formula to prove that Malthus theory in Roman Club. And like 3 years before he passed away, I met with him and discussed this matter with him. And he admitted that the formula was wrong. And he changed the formula. He introduced correlating coefficient because of which, the graph, the line of the growing population was coming up and then was going on, persistent level of stability. Nobody remember about that. We're still talking about the absence of necessary resources for the growing population. Maybe that brings actual politics or creators of the actual politics still to consider that we should not be that strongly supporting the development of mankind in terms of growing populations. Listen, it is easier to give advices, but much more difficult to implement politics. Talking here in this auditorium and addressing to you, both elder generations like myself and the young generation like you, I should say that in terms of collaboration of the generations, we should be oriented not on the clash of the civilizations, but we should be oriented on the cooperation of the civilization. That is natural. The clash is unnatural. Secondly, we were presented with the program of the United Nations for Sustainable Development for another 15 years. But have you heard anybody actually to check what was the result of the previous 15 years? The result was nothing. Then it was 10 major aims or targets. Now it is more than 20. And when I asked the representative of the United Nations how they are going to reach, for example, the target, everyone should have a pure water for life. He said, yes, we have this. And I said, what and where you take the resources? And the answer, do you know the answer was? We do not have additional resources. That is exactly with those money to provide young unemployed with some source of material support. That is not the case. To my mind, the entire paradigm of neoliberal globalization is coming to prove inefficiency after more than 40 years of development. And the people, politicians, are now very much concerned with the question, what will be the next formula? So I finish with the statement that we should not concentrate on some very small particular reasons of young men and ladies' unemployment. But we should concentrate on collaboration, cooperation. We should demand the governments, the politicians, not to introduce very beautiful, proposals without any possibility to check what will be after, even, if it is the next round of election. And of course, it is absolutely essential that during the forums like that, you are obtaining not only the facts and knowledge from the speakers, which you very wisely invited. I am not talking about myself, because if you not invite me, I would come anyway. But I am trying to attract your attention to the fact you should not wait when the politicians will come to you. It was said differently here, but I would like to enforce this. You should come there. You should find those who will understand you and who support you. In these terms, actually, you are responsible for your future, but not only your future. You are responsible for the future of those generations to whom you, very, very soon, will be elder generation.